It's crazy too because your legacy is like cemented at this point, and you've kind of gone from like being like a guy. If you really weren't a Houston or Texas hip hop fan, you just knew about Trae because it was like the guy in Tech who runs Houston. It's like the guy you don't want to fuck with in Texas. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like, fast forward 15 years, you're like very much a community leader. You're very much like when you think of like, when I think of what you and Mr. Rogers were doing out there.
Yeah, shout out Mr. Rogers.
Just crazy. Just like not a lot of people would roll their sleeves up and like actually do the work to like help their neighbors.
I tell people,
or also not just that, by the way. Like I've seen you post if some sort of situation happens.
Mm-hmm. So we do a lot to touch on the stuff with Roger. Like people don't really realize the time.
It's Relief Gang, right?
Yeah, they don't realize the time and everything that we went through and dealt with. From health to family to just. We dealt with a lot trying to do what we could do for everybody, and that's the part that's always gonna be implanted in both me and him. But to the rest of the world, they don't really understand. They only see what we show them. That was only 20% of what we do. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you got to think,
because you're not doing it for the wrong reasons.
We only doing it when we show it. We show for awareness because it gives people more help. And it also plants seed to show people that they can do things to help people. Everybody think you got to be millionaires to help people, and that ain't the case. Sometimes it don't even take money. It may take the time of just the ear, And like nobody's seeing us sleeping in cars, not being able to eat for days, or just different stuff. Like it's a lot that came with that, man. But we dedicated to it. And even to this day, something happened, I'm one of the ones that's going front.
Well, I was going to say, can you give us like a random example? Because like I've seen it a bunch. Like if there's a situation where something bad happens to somebody, or there's an unfortunate thing, like you'll pull together your resources, you'll post about it. Can you give me a situation in which you just helped somebody that? Because I think some people who don't really necessarily follow you, they know about what you guys did in the hurricane, but you guys do stuff all the time for people.
Oh man, it's too much to name. They talked to me earlier about Miss Martha, which was the 77-year-old lady they took to jail. I mean, the lady they took to jail for $77. She was like 80-something years old.
Yep.
I got there for her. Started working to rebuild her house, raised her like 40, 50,000. Done a lot of different stuff for her. You got that. The man that they showed me, they was trying to take his land in Texas. Elder man went out there, spoke up for him. RIP to the homie Canal. I don't know if you see the dude who he had less than a few days to live. He was on hospice. And
I just saw him recently. He passed away.
Yeah,
right?
I was one of his.
The Mexican dude, right?
Yeah, no, he's Indian.
Oh, okay.
But
I saw the food community pages posting him, and he just passed away maybe 2 days ago.
Right. So when they reached out, I was one of his favorite rappers. I believe his page. We just give it 8,000 to 10,000 followers, and within them. His biggest thing that he wanted was to be able to get to the people and motivate them, to show people even with him knowing his time was coming, still be grateful. And,
the video that really like was crazy to see was I think it was a video he posted it the day before he passed or 2 days before he passed, and he was barely hanging on, but he was still very like.
Yeah, and for me to take him from to 8,000 or 10,000 people being able to see who he is to almost 200,000 in a matter of a couple of days.
He helped spread his message.
Man, spread his message like no other. You had people, shout out to The Rock, you had people, everybody from all across the world reaching out. You know what I'm saying? So it's just so many different things that I do. You had the recent hurricanes and in the Mississippi, I'm out there front line with that. It's so much different stuff that we do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Then, we still fighting for Breonna Taylor. We still want justice for that. Special fuck you to Daniel Cameron. And, we still gonna keep it going.
Yeah, it's crazy, too, because if you think about, some of the activism that came out of the pandemic, it felt at a certain point in time like it was just trendy.
For some people, but you gotta.
But let me finish my thought. What I was gonna say was, and then you'll see people like Corday, you'll see people like my son, people like you, like, and it's like, yo, this is not just because it's popular to post a black square on Instagram or it's popular to spread awareness because we're stuck in the house.
So the thing with that is people don't really understand. Again, they only know what they see. They don't know our lives are at risk every day. I don't know if you know me, my son,
You guys got arrested,
Tamika.
right?
We moved, yeah. I'm gonna get to that too.
Yeah.
We moved to Kentucky. We were living there.
Wow.
So imagine being followed by helicopters. You getting random unmarked cars following, being shot at, whether it may be tear gas, different stuff. We've been through a lot, man. Yeah, I'm talking about anything can go. The same man, Daniel Cameron, just for us showing up to his house, had us arrested, tried to give us felonies. But you can't do nothing to the officers that cold-blooded killed Breonna Taylor.
Crazy.
You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But I tell people when it comes to stuff like that, anytime we leave out the house, shit, it's not guaranteed we coming back. That shit just as serious as the street life when you're dealing with going against crooked officers.
The cops are the biggest gang in the and they really. What's crazy is police literally move like a gang.
Yeah, but what I will say, I'm a realistic person. I'm not gonna pin it on all of them because even times when we were arrested and stuff like that, you'll have officers pull us aside like, man, I respect what y'all doing. I hate it got to be this way.
Yeah, I would say this. Like, obviously, most cops are good, but I just mean in terms of like the culture of police. There's unwritten laws that they follow. It is very.
You know, it's so crazy. It'd be funny, right? Like when people talk about the streets and the industry snitching, right? Mm-hmm. Officers feel the same way if you go tell on them.
That's what I was going to say. The same way. Like if a cop snitches on another cop, that cop's life is hell.
Yeah, you outcast. Yep. Yeah, so it's definitely the same shit.
It is definitely the same shit. It is crazy. I wonder, I have you had any sort of like, because you feel like the type of person who could run for office and win.
Never. I don't do politics.
Have you ever met with like, I've seen Killer Mike meet with the governor of Georgia, who I know is more of a conservative guy. Have you ever tried to meet with the?
It's nothing you really can do coming through Texas and not know who I am. So I came across just about anybody.
Yeah.
It's been times, rather than even say their names, there's been times some of the people at the top of the ladder have reached out to talk or to try and come move through the town. And want me to pull up, and I just won't. I just stand on principles, Right. If it's something I believe in, cool. If not, no. Now, what I do now is I try and give people the knowledge. Like I gave a lot of people that know you can actually be in jail and vote. You know what I'm saying? Like it was different things that could be done. And then a lot of people, their mentality was like, what I need to vote for, my vote don't count. But when I start helping them to understand, matters if you feel it count or not. The way we win is to get the right people in office. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Because if we ain't voting, we letting the people who gonna fuck us over at all times sit in office, and whether they run up money on us
and like
or they
Texas,
do whatever.
for whatever reason, Texas has gotten a lot closer in terms of it's. I know it's a conservative state, but it also is like a state that I feel like a lot of people are willing to look at other ideas, if you will. You go to a place like Austin. Austin is like a blue city in a red state. You know what I'm saying? Like Austin kind of feels like it's its own like. It's its own like. It's like you go into a whole other place when you're there.
Man, Austin is always. That's always been a lot of any of us from Houston. That's always been music wise one of our biggest fan bases.
Love Austin. Shout out to the Yellow Rose, great establishment.
As far as the industry itself, it's a dope place because they love music. I look at Austin as when you go to a lot of these festivals and different stuff, just certain people walking around barefooted, just smoking hippie life. You know what I'm saying? Of course, they got the streets. I got family out there. I know that, but it's just a good vibe city.
For sure, man.